Welcome, everyone. My name is Pamela Marshall. I'm joined here with Laura Waite, and this is Bring the World into the Elementary Classroom, your elementary classroom. So thanks for taking the time out today. And this scenario of all of us being so much online these days with remote learning to take some of these ideas and implement them. Without further ado, this project here was something that Laura and I, it's really Laura, full disclosure, really Laura's baby. So without further ado, I'm going to really turn it over to her and explain the whole concept behind this as well.
Okay, so I teach second grade and Pamela teaches fifth grade. And I want to give a shout out also to Carly Ellis, who teaches kindergarten at our school, who was our camera person with the kindergarten and allowed us to use her kindergarten or work with her kindergarten kids as well. So this came about after we worked with Joe and just looking for ways to integrate social studies into our curriculum. And Pamela and I are both travelers. We love to travel and love to have adventures and love to share those with our kids. So I went on vacation, and when I came back, I shared just a series of slides with my students, and I laid out some globes and some atlases, and they just went nuts. They had so much fun, and they had to figure out where I went. I didn't tell them, just with the clues from the pictures. And it was just so exciting that I thought, well, we've got to replicate this. So this is what we've done. So we're going to show you, first of all, what we tell the kids. We're going to show you what we did with the kids, and then we're going to try it out with you too. So take you to a place in the world and have you think about where it might be. So first we want to know who we have here, you know, what grade you teach, where you teach, and what brought you here. So Joe, is there a way for them to type that in?
They can type it in the chat box. Otherwise, if you want to go around quickly, you can have everybody unmute if they choose, and then contribute that way as well. So it's up to you.
Okay, you want to do that, Pamela?
Love that, yes.
Bye. Okay, so you can just call on people, Pamela.
Oh, okay.
Pauline, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
Pauline Ledbetter. I teach sixth grade at Harrison Elementary, and I love the history aspect of my humanities position. And as we all know, we need to make things engaging for the kids in the classroom, and this is like a puzzle. So I'm hoping that there'll be some things in here that I can modify for the sixth grade level.
Great to see you, Pauline.
Thanks. You too.
We have a bunch of people in the chat box. Kristen is joining us from Mars Hill, grades 5 and 6, science and social studies. Jeff is, I teach technology K-5 in Central Maine, here because the name of the session sounded interesting.
Cool.
We have Crystal, Oxford Hills, grade 4. We have Taylor, Chelsea Elementary, grade 4. We have T. Henderson. I teach in RSU 14, general 5th grade, and an additional social studies class. Amanda is multi-age 1st and 2nd grade Phillips Elementary. And Casey is a student teacher at Benton Elementary. And Barbara is a 5th grade in Farmington, Maine. My students are very excited about the world.
Yay.
We also have Jen from Otisfield, pre-K teacher.
Yes, and Laura and I teach at Otisfield Community School. We're part of the Oxford Hills School District, MSAD 17, and Laura and I are both on the social studies curriculum, a newly formed social studies curriculum committee there, and we're just looking to help out all teachers around our district and beyond in just integrating more social studies into our classrooms. As Joe pointed out when we were in that cohort a couple years ago with him, that social studies doesn't have to be, you know, a 10-day block of a topic. Like social studies is for every day, and whether it's a current event or you know, memorializing or remembering a time in history like the anniversary of Auschwitz, for example. It's for every day we pull it in. It doesn't have to be in our curriculum or not. So without further ado, we'll show this, we'll get going on bringing the world into your classroom, because we love doing that.
Pamela,
All right.
we do have some more people still chiming in on the group
Yeah.
chat. We even have, to show, I guess, how small the world can be with technology, we have Hillary from the American International School in Chennai, India. Elementary school curriculum, yes, curriculum. And we have Nathan, a first grade Cape Cod Hill school teacher. He says, I love traveling, teaching children about the world and what is out there.
Wow.
Nice.
So exciting. Welcome, everybody. And again, if we didn't say this before, if you have any questions, Joe is facilitating the chat. Raise your hand if you have a question in between time. So if you have a chime in or question at any time. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right.
So we call these mysteries or quests, and these are the directions that we give to the kids. So you will be shown, whoops,
sorry.
You'll be shown photographs or videos, one at a time, of some place or of a place somewhere in the world.
And each photograph will provide a clue to help figure out where the place is located. Different clues could, and this is kind of like all up to you, like what clues you want to provide. Some might be, you know, signs of in the country, like road signs or currency or animals or clothing or any type of land features.
So you can use an atlas, globe, computer, or any resource materials your teacher provides.
Here are some optional things for you to do. You can, and so you're going to see in a minute how we filmed a couple classes about how this went down. So there's tons of ways you can shape this anywhere you like. This is the way that we had shaped it. You can ask for up to 3 hints as you show each slide. Does that go to the next? Sorry, Laura. So optional hints, sorry, for each slide. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
So we've been playing around with a learning target, so we'll just give you just a little bit of time to read that. It's a template, I guess.
Right. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to show you one of the lessons, and embedded in some of the lessons is going to be some video of the lessons live when we taught them, some snippets from that. So here would be the first slide of where in the world. And as this example, it's shown some seashells. And the next slide, the students get then after the seashells, the students can then see a little bit more. What are they noticing? What are they wondering? And this is, during this lesson, this is some of the kindergartners' take at this point in the lesson. Hold on.
Clue number 1. Picture number 1. Oh, the beach. And talk to the people beside you. What clues do you get? Oh, Georgia and the sea. What makes you think Georgia?
Okay. Sorry, folks, just trying to get it. There we go. Says are kindergartners at that point in the lesson? Here's some of my fifth graders at a similar part of the lesson as well. So again, they're turning and talking, they're sharing with their friends on those 2 slides.
So this was the same lesson given to kindergarten, second grade, and fifth grade.
I'm going to play for you the fifth graders.
Oh, and it was Crazy Hair Day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, Laura. Not only was it Crazy Hair Day, it was like Wacky Wednesday during our Spirit Week. So this is not what I typically wear to school, but you are certainly welcome to borrow any of these fashion tips. I won't hold you back there. All right.
No, it looks like sort of like a.
What does the picture tell you?
The palm trees.
They're palm trees. What do you know about places that have palm trees?
Florida.
What else do you know about places with palm trees? All right. So the fifth graders, you might have heard that they're instantly trying to guess on the location. So they're really going from like big macro, like where in the world this is, to like, it's Florida. So just notice that throughout these videos. Laura, I'll let you take this one.
So here were just some of the sound bites I was able to get. So one kindergartner was, it's campground store, it's a beach store where you get tickets. Second graders, it's a shed. Oh, it's definitely an ice cream shop. And then fifth grade, there was an interesting conversation at one table. It's a hut. Oh, it's a rundown home. It's a poor home. And then they concluded it was a poverty-stricken island, which is kind of neat.
All right. Here's another glimpse of kindergarten further along in the lesson.
Right now, you don't have to guess the place. You can just get clues. So far, I've heard the clues are, it's somewhere where there's a beach, and it's near what? If it's, yeah, what kind of water do you think it's gonna be? I think salt water. Okay.
So kind of backing them down from their big thinking into looking at the specifics. Another clue was bathing the Asian elephant. And so, like, I remember in the fifth grade, they're like, ooh, Asian, oh, it's an elephant. And they're immediately trying to looking at that different part of the world, feverishly in their atlases that they were given. Some other clues and great pictures. And then the tea factory. And more pictures of life, of the wildlife. This one here got a lot of activity, and on my screen. So I'm going to show you now this glimpse of the this cut of the video from this part of the lesson.
That's the good thing about Indies is that we're India.
Yeah.
The girls think it's India over here.
But it might not be because a lot of people have wear those clothes. It's
The
not
saris.
It's not just like India.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. All right, next one. I told you. What is that a car?
So this prompted some great discussion because some of the students had Laura, many of the students had Laura as a second grade teacher, and where Laura, you've traveled to India so often and so frequently, and so there was some previous learning about India in many of the students, and so they were talking about the 5th grade was talking about how she wasn't wearing a bindi that they remembered from their 2nd grade, which is awesome. So there was a lot of discussion back and forth about whether or not it could be India or not with the students. And the last part of the video you just heard, they were commenting on these vehicles, on these auto rickshaws. They were very curious what type of language this is. Then you show them the outline of the island. And this is my 5th grade again, like narrowing things down with their atlas. So pretty low tech in terms of like we have the presentation, but they're really using something pretty low tech as an atlas. Showing some currency. And then the flag.
It's rupees, but I will tell you, they're not the only country that calls their money rupees. Oh, no. I don't feel the legend. Use your atlas. Here we go.
The final clue is what we're seeing now with the flag.
The upper right-hand corner, watch the boy scale his chair.
Which guy? You're right. You're right. Sri Lanka. So where in the world then is Sri Lanka? Who can find Sri Lanka? Excellent. It's right next to India. It's right next to India. I found it on the first list.
Yeah, it's what we're in like day 2 of remote learning and not seeing these kids for a while. I mean, I really miss these kids. And I don't have to tell many of you out there, I mean, how many of your units of study lessons get this much excitement? They're right, Polly? Like they're like, they were jumping over their chairs to come out, Laura and myself, with Sri Lanka. You know, like pushing down, like they're going after toilet paper, like pushing down everything aside to show us it's Sri Lanka. Crazy. I'm curious, Joe, if anyone wants to chime in or chat or any feedback so far, what they've seen.
You do not have anything in the chat room.
Okay, there's still time. Again, just if there's anything you want to add or raise your hand about, you can at any time. All right, shall we go on?
Sure.
All right.
Oh, that was the final.
Yeah. So this is the debrief that we did, that Laura did with 5th grade.
So I just tried to take some notes during the lesson, what I could hear. So I'm just sharing some sound bites so they could hear the progression of their thinking.
And at the very end of the video, as Laura sets down her clipboard, see if you can hear some of the comments from the students.
Let me just a few of the things that I've heard. Some pretty impressive thinking. Are you excited about that? Yes. It's the beach. It's the beach. Hey, this must mean it's near the ocean. It's the Bahamas. It's definitely a beach. Hawaii, Florida. Did you go in the winter or the summer? Winter. Hey, there's a shack. There's a shack on that beach. The shack, I think there are poor people. I think it's a poor island. That Chinese people's houses do not look like that. Oh, no, that's good. That's what you want. You want to be talking and trying to convince them. Okay. No, I was right. Are you ready to let me? It's probably Asia. It could be India. No, it is. Wouldn't they wear bindis if it were India? I think it floods a lot there. What makes you think that? It's near the equator. It's in Asia. I think it's Sri Lanka. I didn't write down anything, but wow.
All right.
So what was interesting is I was in Pamela's class because I had a special and I needed to get back to my kids, and her kids were all like asking so many questions and wanting to keep going. I was saying, okay, you need to talk to Mrs. Marshall. I need to go. But they wanted to continue the lesson. Again, not something we tend to see in other areas of our day.
No, they wanted to keep talking about it. And it wasn't at the end of this video clip. It was the previous one where when they all kind of settled back down in their seats, you can hear one of the students say like, that was so much fun. And, you know, they like I said, they have an atlas, and we're showing pictures of Laura's trip. And they're narrowing it down. Consequently, though, after Laura did go back to her special, and it was the kind of thing where like, oh, I have a half hour left in my day. Like, what am I going to do? So we did just kind of Google jockey Sri Lanka, and I was trying to find them on the fly here. The Hindi myth of the Hanuman god and how he leaps to Sri Lanka as part of the monkey god split pose in yoga. So I was just trying to tie it into Hindu mythology that way, that location. So there's a lot of things you can tie it into on the fly. All right.
So we have a question from Pauline. Do all pictures have equal value toward the answer? Kids could research after and write an informational piece. That's a great idea. In terms of the pictures having equal value, we learn as we go that some of them have to be taken out, and that they weren't as valuable. So we try to choose them so they're similar, so that they're all pretty valuable. But I had some little Christmas trees in there from Sri Lanka that did nothing, so I took them out. Also, the island picture, the younger kids thought it was a pineapple, so that wasn't very helpful either. So sometimes we have to alter them.
Right, and I think the older kids, they were really trying to match the shape. They were that really honed them in on a location. So
another question: do we go from easy to hard? Not necessarily easy to hard, but we make it a little easier at the end. I tend to always end with the flag because they want to know the answer, and that will get them there. But we try to show food, clothing, signage with the language if it's different, some sort of landform. So if it's near the ocean, for example, did I say currency? And we show a flag. Oh, and animals. So, and people. So we kind of follow that general template and then kind of help them out at the end. But you could do it any way you want.
Anyway.
I wouldn't start with the flag though.
Right. Or currency. Maybe so. All right.
There is a question from Crystal wondering if this could be narrowed down to a unit on Maine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll see some pictures in here.
Right, exactly. Hold that thought, Crystal. Great thinking. All right, so now it's going to be your turn. Would you guys like to try where in the world is this? All right, here we go.
So as you saw, the kids have a tendency to want to just name the place right off. And we try to encourage them to think broader. Where could it be? What do you notice?
All right. They started going crazy with the palm trees.
So here's where my students asked what language is Alto. So that was one of their hints. So I looked it up. Well, I knew, but I mean, I looked it up for them and said, okay, so that's Spanish. So then they narrowed that down.
But they also note too the shape of the sign. So they're also, note they're seeing the universal features of these road signs in this case. Mm. Yum.
So Amanda's making a connection. Looks like my trip to the Bahamas, Mexico, someplace tropical. And that's when we keep repeating, what makes you think that?
Mm-hmm.
What's the evidence? What makes you say that? What makes you think that?
I want to chime in really quick. One of the things I do in a lot of my professional development with teachers is a really, really simple skill you with kids, even elementary kids can do with images is inferences, observations versus inferences, because we're asking to make inferences on what they are. But we oftentimes we're overlooking the observation part of it, and that we'll put the picture up and say, well, where do you think this is? But that first place you want to start is, what do you see in the picture? And when you do, you could do a T-chart, you could do it as a class, and I do it with teachers all the time, and I ask for observations, and we always jump to inferences because the brain always wants to make sense of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But we really need to just stop and pause and say, I see a picture, it looks like an outline of a snake. Is that an observation or an inference? It's most likely, it's probably an inference. Like we're really educated with it, but we see like a sign, we see leaves, we see green, we see, stuff like that. And then you really make people slow down, because some of the research, I think it's from Jeffrey Noakes, that we get into when we deal with visual images, we assume that we see it all instantly and that we've managed to take it all in, which we all know is not true. And so any way that you can get students to stop and relook, like I think Laura was saying, like, right, well, so why do you think that though? Why do you think that? You really have to get students to slow down and point at what they're seeing, what it is, and then start to make the inferences. Well, I think this is a snake because what I see is the outline of a squiggly line, and if we're looking at other similar animals, to really help them show their thinking.
Thanks, Joe.
So that wasn't an anteater in the earlier one. I actually am forgetting at the moment what that is. Not on this slide, the previous slide.
Oh,
There was a
okay.
question about that.
Ah. Mhm.
This is when the younger kids say, "You had Halloween there on vacation?"
Mhm.
So on this one, they narrowed down to Mexico, but then I pushed them further. Okay, where in Mexico was I? So that's what you'll see next. So that was their clue.
Did you find Quintana Roo right there?
How did you find Quintana Roo?
And that was the island that you were on. So it's right here.
And that's the island, you think?
Yeah, right there. I think it's that little pink dot.
Are there any other islands? Did you find the islands?
Yeah!
How did you find that so quickly?
Right here. Right there. Right on
So they went by the shape and found the island. That's how they did. They knew it was in Mexico, and so I might have another time I might show just an island, maybe even a cartoon island, so they get that concept without giving them the shape.
Yeah, like a SpongeBob island.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we could just run through these so they can just see what we're going to make these available to you if you choose. We don't have any copyrights on these, so you can just take these and put them in a file that you might want to use.
And those that asked about the format of it, you can see how it followed the same template as the Sri Lanka one, like pictures as you moved along, and then currency, then the flag. That's one way to go about it. All right. We'll move through these a little more.
Oh, so this is
Yeah.
one I'm doing through remote learning. So I gave my second graders 4 of these pictures today, and they'll get 4 more tomorrow to do this thinking on the computer and then send back to me. So this is perfect for remote learning.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, the connection to what you're doing? And forgive me if you're going to talk about this later, but saying it's perfect for the remote learning that people are doing right now. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So I'm using something called Class Dojo. It's kind of like Facebook for kids and families. And so I give them an inquiry task every day. And so today's was, take a look at these 4 pictures. What do you see? And what sense are you making? What clues are you getting from what you see? And then they had to either make a video or write back to me what they were noticing. So I got things like, well, one kid, I'm holding caribou antlers and a little later, and she did some research on caribou, and she said, "You're someplace north." Somebody else noticed that there was snow, but in other places there was no snow. So you're someplace where it can get cold. You're someplace where there's moose habitat, somebody said. And they don't know the answers yet. Somebody said you're on Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Somebody said it's at the, what's the animal park in Gray, Maine?
Oh, the wildlife?
Yeah, the wildlife park in, is it Gray? Other people said Maine, but a lot of the kids just stuck to just talking about the clues and not trying to guess.
Yeah, exactly. And along the same lines, in my Google Classroom for 5th grade, I have like a morning work daily assignment that you can really tailor any way. You could easily put these pictures in. I'm just giving them one picture. I took a picture of Shawnee Peak the other day from Route 302, and I'm just simply, I included a doc with it, a Google Doc with it, already copied for them. And it's just a notice and wonder. What do you notice about the picture? What are you wondering about the picture? So, and that's their part of their morning work assignment as well. And I changed the picture each day. So the next day it was like daffodils sprouting. But you can easily implement it. I love Laura's idea about implementing some of these trips in it too. So you gave them the 4 pictures, and this was the last picture of the bear.
No, these, I mean, just keep going because I didn't actually show them the bear yet.
Ah, the ground cover on the tundra. Hmm.
So one student said today that I did show this picture, that I was in the desert.
I almost used that picture of you to promote our on Facebook last night, to promote our webinar today with your bear spray.
That's for you, Joe.
Nice rock.
I found that on the glacier. Can you believe it? Just like that.
That's pretty incredible.
All right.
Okay, that's the end of that one, right? We'll show a couple more here. Any questions in the meantime? All right, we'll go on. Wow.
So somebody is saying, Nathan is saying Thailand, or Pauline, Vietnam. So the previous slides were Thailand, and these were Nepal.
Nepal. Oh, right, because the monks on the, was that on the train or the
Well,
bus?
the monks were, those were the Thailand pictures.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. So here's some of my travels. Kind of a hint in the picture if you notice closely. And you know, when I really looked back at a trip when I built this one, I just looked back at my trip and just found some pics, and I can easily pull in some pictures of currency or not, to pull it in. Okay. Mm. So is that India? That last
What
one?
makes you think that?
Because that looks like Gandhi. It's pretty good. All right.
Was it Crystal was asking about Maine?
Yeah. Right? Here you go, Crystal. I'm sorry. I'll show you that one. So you can pull that in with our beloved state. Any questions, comments, compliments,
Takeaways.
takeaways?
Real quick, I was just chime in. Make sure you don't leave yet at this point. As you start asking the questions, I'm going to drop in a link to a Google survey to collect feedback from you. And then if you need a contact our certificate when you complete the survey, just make sure you answer the last question that yes, you completed the webinar, and it will email you the certificate automatically. So feel free to go ahead and ask any questions, and I will get that into the group chat for you. Are there any questions for Pamela or Laura? And I guess I would also put out there, is anybody having any, I like the question at the end, like takeaways. How are you thinking and processing about this? And did you take away something that it might be really helpful for somebody else to hear?
And Joe, while they're typing that in or contemplating that, in all fairness to the curriculum, to the units of study and Lucy Calkins' curriculum that we do cover in our school district, I think this exercise is a really good way to point out in any learning how when students want to jump to a conclusion about something immediately, and we're asking what makes you think that, and having them pause and leaving that moment for bigger thinking. I know that in the 5th grade study for reading, we're often asked to have the students, as they're writing about their reading, certainly have their theories and ideas about their book, but also leave themselves open to what can change. Their theory can change, their ideas can change or grow. And I think this is a great way to show that learning and that thinking in a social studies environment as well. The other connection to reading is how we don't want to make, I know in 5th grade we cover it, we don't want to make assumptions about a character and just pigeonhole a character into certain type of traits, and having that open thinking that characters can change and grow. So we can transfer that type of thinking to these exercises as well. Don't be pigeonholed thinking it's Hawaii just because you saw the surfboards.
One thing that I really like about this is that the way the world is explored with so many different things, that even focusing on some of the key concepts, because one of the things I talk about with elementary teachers all the time is we often, when exploring outside of our country, we fall into the 5 F's. We look for flags, festivals, food, fashion, and famous people. And that's, countries are more than that. And so you still see like the food is highlighted in there, the flags in there, the fashion, but it's in a way to engage curiosity and question, because a lot of times we'll say like, well, we're going to talk about country X, and here's the country, and they celebrate this holiday, and here's their food, and you might have heard of them because of this person. Okay, next. And you know, it becomes a really simplified way of thinking about things, just like the United States is more than, you know, Christmas, hot dogs, Tom Cruise, and baseball caps, right? That's, you know, a general piece. So this is a way to look at those pieces as clues, but still push that that thinking a lot deeper.
And Joe, following with that same thinking, I feel that way about atlases. I mean, I've introduced atlases to kids before and kind of go through it lockstep. You know, here's, you know, this part of the atlas and here's this part. But you just put the atlases out and, you know, you give them a puzzle like this and they are learning so much about atlases. They know so much by the end of one of these that, you know, it probably would have taken me a week to get them through the way, you know, if you teach in a more traditional way. And it's just amazing, and they just love them.
Mm-hmm. And I even think you can minimize it too, like what you said, Laura, about having just 3 or 4 slides. Like if some of us, either we want to do it in you know, whatever your schedule allows. If you have a tricky schedule and you're ended up with like a half hour, this awkward or in your day, or 20 minutes in your day, you can size this down to that framework, or you can even set it up as morning work. Give, you know, 4 clues on the board and a sheet of thinking, and then have it bring your morning circle what their thinking is on that, just to get in that geography and that exploratory. Well, there's so many ways you can adapt this.
Oh, Joe, you beat me.
What do you say? I can't see the chat.
Somebody, Pauline was asking about all 5 F's. She got 3 of them.
You should make t-shirts on that, Joe.
I'm going to drop the link for the survey, the contact hour survey one more time, just so it doesn't get lost. I know not everybody is necessarily looking at that or worried about that, but I want to make sure that if that is something that you need. At this point, you feel free to keep everything open. I am going to hit stop on the record.